What do you think today are the biggest challenges on both sides of the spectrum?
See, with lead gen, it comes down to each campaign has a shelf life. No campaign's gonna last forever. I mean, you're hoping you can get a good several year run out of it, right? And that's happened. We have clients in solar that have been buying leads from us since 2016. That's very rare. That's the exception, not the rule. But why we've been able to scale that client and probably have done $10 million in revenue with them over those years is that they give us a constant feedback loop. We get dispositions regularly. Some of our clients give us dispositions daily, some once a week. So when you can get that feedback loop in place, you can make adjustments, you can make optimizations. Solar, for example, we could never make YouTube work a couple years ago, and all of a sudden it started popping like crazy. So when we see something like that's working, we're gonna press the gas. You know, Facebook's been a little bit more difficult. It's very more saturated. It's rising costs. So we always want to try different things, but if you don't get that feedback loop, you're not gonna know. You're shooting blind, right? So when you get the feedback loop, and it also comes down to account management. I think a lot of affiliates and media buyers, they're good at one thing. They're good at multiple things, but their gift from God, or their gift that they create, is they can go online, they can get people to click on ads, but they're not necessarily a biz dev person. So, and they don't know how to hire a biz dev person, so that biz dev person might not be the one taking them to the next level. They could have the greatest leads in the world, but you know, Tony Robbins always says it's not the best product in the world. Usually the mediocre products that are driven by good sales teams are the ones that make the most money. There's tons of examples. How many times have you gone somewhere, you go to a restaurant, phenomenal food, right? But they have no good marketing presence, they go out of business. Whereas the mediocre, the chains, they make a lot of money because they got the process nailed down. So I think it comes down to communication. It comes down to affiliates either partnering up with companies like mine that can do that for them, right? Or developing an internal, which is harder to do. You can do that, don't get me wrong, or you do a combination of both, right?
You're typically trying to do two different parts of the business, which is very challenging, right? Because it's hard enough to do one of them right.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's an art. You know, it really is an art. So the affiliates that got that nailed down, they're the ones that are going to scale. They'll scale to the moon. And other ones, it can really be the difference between life and death in this business. Or it could be a difference between having a 6-figure year and having a 7-figure year, or a 7-figure year having an 8-figure year, 9-figure year. That's really the sauce.
What have you seen change the most in the last six years since you've been heavy into this business?
Yeah, I mean, wow.
2017, where you really got deep into it as the traffic broker.
Yeah. I mean, I was brokering then. I've gone way more down the funnel since then. But I think what you see is a lot more. There's a lot more restrictions. There's a lot more regulation. TCPA. If no one's paying attention to TCPA, you have to pay attention to TCPA. That's the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. There's a lot of, especially in America, so many ambulance chasers, a lot of litigators, right? So you got to make sure that you have trusted forms, your NIA, you're capturing that on your leads, because trust me, you know, we had a contract with Duke Energy in a call center I ran, $80 billion, biggest utility company in America, and they knew there were going to be complaints. They're like, listen, if there's no complaints, that means we're doing something wrong, because that means you're not getting volume, right? But if you really want to push the needle here, move the needle, you have to drive volume, and then the more volume you drive, it's a numbers game. It's only a matter of time before you get a litigator looking to sue your client. If they sue your client, guess what? You're on the hook for this thing too. So I would say that it's become more competitive for sure. Their ad costs have gotten way, way higher. And second of all, people got to be mindful of doing lead gen the right way. You know, don't be misleading. Make sure you're collecting the trusted forms, because it seems like every few months somebody's going after a big company for a class action, 7-figure lawsuit, 6 figures, whatever. I mean, it adds a hell up. So you want to make sure that you're compliant. But the regulatory issues have been tougher. It seems like there's a lot more onus on Congress and on the regulators to do more, what do you call it, consumer protection. They don't like data being floated out. So I say just do shit right. Run the shit cleanly, get the trusted form, get the journayas, and if you do that, and don't mislead, because at the end of the day, a lot of people like to mislead. You know, we have a big issue with solar. Everyone's trying to run these Tesla ads. And you know, Tesla will click. They'll click on those fucking ads. But guess what? If your client's bitching at you, you're going to be shut the fuck off, right? And then you get a bad reputation. And trust me, it's a small, small world. That's why, to me, reputation is so fucking important. You could Google my name. You're not going to find one negative fucking thing online about us. And you want to be the same way. You want to be squeaky clean. And trust me, we haven't been perfect. We made a lot of fucking mistakes. We've had some issues where in the past, compliance issues, we fixed them. We paid what the fuck we owed, but we learned from that shit. So I think long term. In this environment, you got to think long term, not short term. And when you have that long term mentality, yeah, you leave some money on the table, but long term, you'll get that back and then some. And then guess what? people know you're that fucking clean person. They can scale with you, and you can go to sleep at night knowing they're not going to get their asses sued, right? So again, you got to do what's best for your client. If your client grows, you're going to grow with them.